Welcome to the Best Hour of Their Day podcast with your hosts, Jason Fernandez
and me, Jason Ackerman. With more than 20 years in the business,
as both coaches and affiliate owners,
our passion is to help create world-class affiliates
and coaches by building
better boxes. Welcome to
the Best Hour of Your Day.
Welcome back to Best Hour of Their Day. We are all here. The gang is here, if you will. We are amidst the CrossFit Open. It goes without saying, I am winning. I am winning on the leaderboard. What is that face you're making, Katie?
What?
You can see that. You know, if people are watching on YouTube,
what exactly are you winning?
Yeah, what are you winning?
Is the first question. And well, look, is it winning if I do not participate in the first round?
Look, here's the deal. As you know, we're live. So for the listener's pleasure, I'm pretending like it's actually live. And I think we all are understanding I will most likely be in the lead.
Live. Every time you say that, I think of Princess Bride when he's just like, you keep saying that word. I don't think it means what you think it means.
They need to do a Princess Bride remake, by the way. That's a good one.
Great. Okay, who would be?
10 series.
God, fuck, I just said we shouldn't do this.
I was going to go in.
Who would be the lead?
Okay. So you're talking about Wesley, Prince Wesley?
Correct. He was, in fact, the lead of the movie. Yes.
Ooh, you know who would be great? I'm going to say it. You guys you're going to be like, you're absolutely right. You just nailed it. And I'm telling you right now, this is going to get picked up. Nope, it's not Will Ferrell. That's a good one, though. I'm going to say it, and you're going to be like, nailed it. And
then please say it.
Netflix is going to pick this up, and I want Best Hour to get a percentage of it, and more specifically me when I say Best Hour. Ryan Reynolds. Yeah, both of you are giving me you nailed that one. I know it because he's funny. He's a good-looking dude. Yeah, he would be great. So Ryan, if you're listening, from what I understand, you're a big listener of the Best Hour podcast.
The mountain would have to take place of Andre the Giant.
Oh, you got the mountain, yeah. Or what's the strong Eddie Hall?
He's not big enough. He's big, don't get me wrong, but he's not like Andre the Giant was literally a giant.
But the mountain lost quite a bit of weight for his boxing career.
Right, but he's still like 6'10".
I'm gonna throw a loop in this. Fern. Let me just do this if you don't mind. Okay. Here's who is gonna be the mount. Fezzik. What's his name? Fezzik, I believe.
Fezzik. Yeah, he's gonna be in
Francis Ngannou, the UFC heavyweight champion. Because here's the deal. Cancel culture. We got to throw some different races. Like, it's not going to be an all-white cast like the original Princess Bride. We're throwing in some, different things going on.
So he's going to be in place of Andre the Giant.
Yeah, and he's got a little bit of an accent in there, so he can do anybody want a pickle? Like, we can still have that funny line. Katie, I'll throw this.
Inconceivable.
Who's going to be that guy? Who's going to be that guy? We got to
figure out. Actually, you know who would be a great?
I got it.
Hold on. I know Paul Giamatti. Paul Giamatti.
Okay, he's good. He's a good one. I was going to go Danny DeVito, but I think Paul Giamatti
is a better. Yeah,
you like him because of Billions, you creepy guy.
I do like Billions, but I don't like him because of Billions. But he fits that role perfectly, actually.
He would be great at that. Okay, so we got Paul Giamatti. Who's Buttercup, Katie? You throw out Buttercup.
Ooh. Katie's Googling Princess Bride right now. She's like,
no, I've seen the Princess Bride. I don't know.
One movie she knows.
I was looking
Who's going to be Palumbo? Who's going to be the dad reading the book?
Yeah, right. That can be, you know what? Dude, I've got this. Fred Savage is the grandfather. All these years later. Come on. You know what it is? And it's like a sequel. It's like now Fred Savage is passing it forward. Oh man, I'm going to throw this out there. Let's stop coaching affiliates. Let's get full steam into the.
Who's going to be Inigo Montoya?
You stumped me on this one. Let's see.
This is a tough one, actually.
I don't watch enough movies, to be honest, to keep up with this.
Oh, you know who it could be? Although I think he's kind of a weird. Oh my God, the dude who plays Mandalorian.
I know you. I mean, I know the face.
I can't think of his name.
Is he good enough? I quite honestly didn't.
I thought he was. He's been in quite a few movies, but he was good in
Pedro Pascal.
Yeah, Pedro Pascal. I think he was it Triple Canopy? No, something like that. But anyway, Triple Frontier. He was good in that. And then he's been in a couple other movies, but he kind of has that like vibe.
And you need a little bit of an accent, like a little, yeah.
Yeah, he's a Spaniard, of course.
Okay, so we got that. We got. Do we name a Buttercup yet?
No.
Katie had one job. She hasn't gotten it
Yeah.
What about the girl? What about
actress.
Who's the girl from Stranger Things? Like the one who I've not watched the most recent series or seasons.
There's another one coming out, by the way.
But she has the shaved head in the early ones.
Oh,
because she's like a little older now. She's old enough to be a princess.
Yeah, but I don't. That's not. I don't think that'd be a good role for her.
No good.
No.
Is she not? I don't know what she looks.
No,
like.
It's not that. I just like her. I don't think her that's not like her persona. I don't think. Yeah, I don't know who that would be. Ooh. Scarlett Johansson could do a good job.
Isn't she too old to be the princess?
I think she's too old.
Who cares? Scarlett Johansson's.
What about last two?
Still
last
hot
two
and a good actress.
We need the Billy Crystal role and his wife.
Oh,
and then the bad guy who killed Inigo's father.
Right.
I think you could go comedic on that, like a Will Ferrell. Okay, yeah. We want to hear the Buttercup. I'm gonna go Will Ferrell for this Six-Fingered Man. I like your call on Will Ferrell earlier. Like he's funny. Like that could be a humorous role. So,
well done, team. All right.
Dude, I'm saying, I believe
on to coaching,
and I believe we just nailed this. I think that was the most productive we've ever been, to be quite honest.
For you, for sure. That's not even.
I've never lit up and been that excited about work at all.
Once. Yeah, about anything for that matter.
And I think I nailed it. I think the listeners, if you disagree, we want to hear your roles. Katie, here's what I want from you for this episode: picture of the Princess Bride, my face, Fern's face, your face on there. Throw us the modern day characters.
And then make that meme make that meme where Jay says, "And we're live," and it goes, "You keep saying that word," and I think it means what you think.
Going back to that, I'm assuming by the time the listeners hear this episode, I'm winning the CrossFit Open. First place.
In the world.
I'll
take that bet.
Yeah. But I want to talk a little bit about it. Every year, the CrossFit Open has movements that are challenging, right? We saw the list of equipment. We've already seen the first workout at this point. There's always going to be movements that are a struggle for some coaches to coach.
Wait, we've seen the first workout? Oh, meaning by the time this podcast.
Follow along. We're live.
Well, it's hard to follow your random thoughts.
Katie and I are live. You're behind.
Past tense.
That's like the Spaceballs. So we're live now? What's live?
When did it happen? Just now.
Just now. But for, whether it's the Open or just when you were beginning, I mean, granted, you were a regional athlete, Division I, you probably never experienced this. I did. Katie, maybe you can speak a little bit on it as well. But I know we get a lot of questions from our listeners about coaching movements that either they just flat out can't do yet or struggle to do. Now, it is my contention. Whenever I say the word contention, Fern, what do I think of?
Contention?
Yeah.
I don't know.
The What is Fitness lecture.
Oh.
That's like the only other time I use that word.
It is our contention.
It is our contention.
Is most balanced across all 10 general physical skills.
So anyway, my contention is the people that are best at coaching those movements are those that struggle with it. Or at one point struggle with it.
Yeah. So I don't know. Yeah, I would slightly disagree in the sense that they're struggling with it. Meaning I would to be said more succinctly, probably people who had to work really hard to get it.
Yes.
Right. Sure. Just because they've had to work through the progressions, they've had to work through the weird intricacies, as opposed to the person who's fairly athletic gets up there and they're like, all right, so you just kind of get up in here and then you pull up to the top of the rings and you're there. And I'm like,
just wind up on top of these rings,
Yeah, something like that. Maybe don't do that.
Pull.
People. Yeah.
Pull. Do you hear me saying pull?
Yeah. So yeah, I don't necessarily disagree with that. I think it's a little bit more nuanced than that. But people who are forced to dive into the nuance, because the counter argument to that is like a gymnast who's really good at it and has had a skill for a really long time, but is just a specialist in that thing, doesn't fall in the category.
Yeah, I think, and I used to hear this a lot when I worked with RIP, just the people that we talked about it during the seminars themselves, but those, like you said, I think that's a good way to put it, that struggled to learn it, that didn't just have a muscle up on day one or a handstand walk, etc., had to understand the details, the intricacies of it. And because of that, they're typically better suited to coach it. And that's
actually, I think we're going down the wrong road. And I would like to course correct.
You mean the whole entire business? You want to change the business model?
Yeah, definitely. There should be a guy outside cutting your grass, pretending to cut your grass, but he's going to serve you with papers. So I see where you're going with this. I disagree because I think it's a nonsense excuse. And here are the people that struggle to teach the muscle up or any of those other skills. You ready for this?
Yeah, I'm ready.
The people who never coach the muscle up or those skills.
Fair enough. Can't argue with you. I can't argue with you on that. So what you're saying is it's not only a matter of like, hey, you develop this skill as a coach by learning, but then also just time under tension. You could have a muscle up on day one
and still be bad at teaching it. You could also struggle with muscle ups on day one, get a muscle up and still be bad at teaching it. So at some point in time, nothing trumps practice, meaning practice the coaching. Doing it. I think, Denise and I were talking about this before, or not before, but this weekend about
Denise Thomas, a little name drop.
Denise Thomas. Yeah. Here. So we were hanging out this weekend, got to hang out with the Boz man. And
watch your feet, guys. Fern's just dropping names. Here we go. Who else are you hanging out with?
Cover up your toes, everybody.
Boz, you're talking about Adrian Bosman. My prediction for programming. Did he give you any insight?
Yeah, which I'm not going to give you. But he's like, it's definitely not going to bode well for Jay.
I meant, is he actually doing? Remember, we had Justin on, and I predicted he's programming the game.
No, I don't like to mix personal and professional in those settings. So I did not.
So you didn't talk about CrossFit at all with Boz, is what you're saying? No talk about fitness.
Not really. We talked about good place to eat in Nashville. We talked about moving across the country. The difference between you and I, Jay, is that I care. Yeah. So
what's the name of that spot?
The pharmacy.
The pharmacy, right? So give everybody a little peek behind the curtains when you work at Cookeville. What happens for a seminar weekend?
Well, it's kind of different every weekend, but typically, so Cookeville's an hour from Nashville. So Cookeville's almost dead center between Nashville and Knoxville. And so you fly into Nashville, typically you just grab the rental car, you drive into Cookeville.
Which is unusual too, in that all the trainers are waiting for each other. So a lot of times we might not see each other at all on a Friday.
Right. Well, this one was weird in that sense because Janice got in earlier than I. So we both had rental cars, which is very odd, or very unordinary, or very out of the ordinary. So anyway, for typically Fridays,
Katie was like secretly judging your grammar right there.
That's okay. I got enough of that from my mom when I was growing up. Typically Fridays, not a ton happens, but then Saturdays, the whole crew will either go to dinner or sometimes we'll go to Senior's house and hang out. Occasionally,
did you do that?
People, not this weekend, no, but Senior did come and hang out. He came to dinner with us. Rich Froning Senior, not Junior, so not the former game champion or current game champion, I guess. But there are a ton of people there. We ran into Rory on Saturday morning, Rory McKiernan, and then who else do we see there? And then it was myself, Denise Thomas, Donnie Forbes, both of which all three of those people have been on the podcast. So it was a good weekend. So then we drove back Sunday because it's hard for most people to fly out at Sunday night and get home. So we stay in Nashville on Sunday night. So Denise reached out to Boz, and so we met up with Boz and his wife for dinner on Sunday at this cool little spot. Pelican and Pig, I believe is what it was called, which by the way, killer and good call on this spot. Is like one of the best pork chops I've ever had in my life. And I'm not like a huge pork chop guy, but he was like, listen, it's legit. And for sure, the best Brussels sprouts I've ever had in my life.
Well, let me guess. They had bacon and sugar on them.
I don't know. I don't care.
I mean, yeah, that's what, when people like Brussels sprouts, they don't actually like Brussels sprouts.
No, this had well, I also like vinegar, but it had like a pretty heavy like vinaigrette glaze on it, which was like, it was out of this world good. Like I couldn't get over how good it was.
All right.
It was good.
All right. So
anyway,
I have a question before you go on. I saw in your stories, like that coffee spot. Is that a part of the box now?
Yeah. So if you've ever been to CrossFit Mayhem, so they have the main gym floor, and then they've
I've been there.
They're just adding shit everywhere. So they have the classroom that's upstairs. They obviously have the retail area, but in that front area, it used to be just like a bunch of random offices and just rooms and stuff upstairs. And most people have never even been up there. But they've been redoing it for the past year, and it's a full up and running, very cool coffee shop. It's Buffalo Brew. They have somebody in there who like it's a
legit coffee shop.
Yeah, it's like you literally go in there and sit and drink coffee, and it's like a very cool vibe. It's amazing. And then they're expanding the outside. So if you've ever been there, if you're in the main parking lot on the side of the building, you're looking at the facility, like you're looking at the retail spot. To the left, there used to be like an open slab. Well, that's covered now, slab rubber, but they're enclosing it. And they're going to make it essentially a different gym for their Mayhem athletes to train with the recovery area. So, I mean, it's really cool to see what Rich has done, and Rich and the Mayhem team there, and to see what they're creating there. And it's a textbook case in really solid branding and good G for an athlete to transition away from the sport at some point. Like he's good to go, and it's really cool to see.
He's good to go. Like people were concerned about Rich's finances.
Well, I mean, not like this happens all the time in professional sports.
Yeah, bankrupt. We got to watch the 30 for 30, right?
Yeah, so it's not uncommon, and I don't know anything about what Rich has got going on with sponsor stuff like that. But the reality is, like, just like everything else, eventually that stuff ends, and he's built a lot of cool stuff there. With their bison. That they have, like it's cool, like it's really cool, and it's a cool vibe. It's a spot, and I think while the space has been amazing, it is a really cool space that they have there. I think my personal opinion, and this is not a shot at them at all, like it's actually now starting to live up to its potential. Like before, you're like, man, this is big, huge. This is cool, but now you're just like, oh man, you guys are starting to really kind of do what we would recommend for a lot of affiliates. Is like, you need to learn to really maximize this. You're not maximizing it. And that takes time, right? Like these are not small, easy projects that they did, by the way. Like these are, legit projects and major endeavors that they're undertaking. So good, bravo to them. Like I've always been a fan of Rich and Mayhem. I think they're fantastic, ambassadors of CrossFit in the community, and they will only continue to be at this pace. So,
and for the record, affiliate owners, take care of business first. In other words, Rich wasn't doing this while he was making his run as 4-time champion, just like you shouldn't be doing it. He was focusing on the main thing, which at the time was winning the CrossFit Games.
Correct.
Now he's opened up all these possibilities, and we have plenty of our clients that, once their box is,
doing similar things on a different scale,
whether it's buying their land, whether it's new ventures, etc. I mean, do you think Rich is probably done the most with his name recognition out of all the CrossFit?
I think that's not.
Fraser's doing a lot. Obviously, he's got the nutrition company.
So anybody who's not watched they Mayhem Nation or whatever, I don't know, really, they have like a couple different like sub brands there, but they released their documentary, which is undisputed on YouTube. So go watch it. It's fantastic. It's really well done. The videography there is fantastic. The editing is great. Rory does a lot of the voiceover, so he's fantastic at that.
Rory's, by the way, fit looking dude right now,
bro. Can we talk about that for a second? I don't know what they're feeding people there in Cookeville, but Rory is jacked,
dude. I saw his
video. He's already annoyingly handsome, but now he's freakishly jacked, and it's even more annoying.
Katie, is Rory handsome? Do you find him handsome? You made a look.
He's not ugly. He's pretty. All right, handsome.
We get it. Tyler's in the room next door.
Rory's. I have no problem saying it. Like Rory's a handsome man. He grows an insanely aggressive beard. But
you're saying more handsome than me, Katie, when you say that.
For sure. But more importantly, he's a good dude. And but yeah, he's fit. He's just looking fit. I was like, dude.
Yeah, no, I saw some. Must have been on his social media or something. I was like, dude, that dude's abs are jacked now.
No,
and the gray looks good. Like, I'm excited to turn a little gray. I was thinking, I went to jiu-jitsu yesterday, and this older guy's there, and he's like a cowboy looking. And I'm like, I'm excited to get a little gray in there because you're gonna look like you get that cowboy look, like Rory has. Anyway, Fern, can we bring it back in? Do you mind? Do you want to bring it back?
Sure. You're the one that derailed it. But
Katie, note who derailed today. Let's talk a little bit about it though. Like it's cool in theory to be like, cool, time under tension. But let's talk. And let's name a couple movements that we can classify here. The muscle up bar or ring. Let's just throw muscle up in there as both. Handstand, push up, and walking.
Okay.
You have another, and obviously, I guess we're kind of, but I would even throw the Olympic lifts in there. I was going to say, like, oftentimes they're more gymnastic-esque because,
I was going to go with some basic stuff that people are awful at teaching, like Sumanov type pull and med ball clean.
There's those as well, but I think typically when people ask us about it, they're referring to the movements where it's like black and white. Like, I cannot do that yet.
However, the criticism stands either way. Because if you're avoiding one, you're probably avoiding many things. And it's a problem no matter what it is. Because and this is the analogy to fitness is the analogies to fitness are, it's a weakness that if you fixed it would lend itself to you being better at other things. So for the level 2, I taught the kettlebell swing. And at the end,
did you teach the day one workout?
I taught the day 2 workout because it's switched. So
it's switched out. What was the workout? So
you should get up to date.
Next time I work at level 2.
Yeah.
So for the listeners that may not realize this, the level 2 is a little unique in that we have a heavy day planned where we have a few options, but you're kind of a little like, hey, you're either doing a front squat, a clean, or a clean and jerk. The day 2 workout, the person that's coaching your level 2, in this case, Fern, actually creates the workout. So what was the workout you created?
It's 3 rounds of 12 bar muscle ups, 24 kettlebell swings at 70 and 55 and 48 double unders. So
dude, that is horrible. That's a great programmed workout. That's terrible. Why'd you do that?
You're welcome.
12, 24, 48.
Yep.
I like it. It's clean. Makes sense numbers wise. Makes sense also from a perspective of how much time you're going to be spending at each movement. Elegantly programmed, Fern. I think you should take over for Cap.
Done. It's in the works. Gary just texted me. No.
He's listening live.
Yeah.
I'm telling you.
Live. I do not think it means what you mean. No. So I put that workout because the idea there is to teach something complex, but I think it's beneficial. So there's 2 complex things, and their double unders are complex. The bar muscle ups is complex. I'm not going to say that the kettlebell is not complex because that would not give it the respect that it deserves.
Relatively speaking,
it's not
as complex
to the other 2 movements. However, most people don't teach it. And I wanted that workout to be hard. So that's a 10 to 15 minute workout if executed correctly. And there's a lot of opportunity for correcting. There's a lot of opportunity for seeing, and it's an effective way to expose people to intensity. Because when people get done with that, they're smoked. I mean, like even there's some good athletes in there, and they're just smoked afterwards. So that's why we'll tend to program things like that in the level 2, and you run a full class, do a debrief on the lesson plan, all that kind of stuff. So, but my point with that is, all of it is if you want to know what you should be coaching, do the hopper model. So, but you're not an athlete at this point. So put a bunch of movements in the hopper. Which one don't you want to come out of the hopper to teach to a group of your peers? That's the one that you should start coaching. So for me, it used to be the push jerk back in the day. If the push jerk was on the agenda or on the lesson plan for the day, this is way back when I was sick that day. Because I was not coming in. I was terrified to teach the push jerk because I hadn't yet really comprehended it. I hadn't gotten to something that would, resemble competence. But now if you fast forward now, you can give me a group of random strangers out of the Chick-fil-A parking lot, and I will get them to do something that resembles a push jerk in less than 10 minutes. And then they'll look pretty good, to be very candid with you. I have full confidence in that, but you have to dive into those things and teach us.
I'm surprised. And the reason I'm surprised is I think when a lot of people talk about movements they struggle with, the push jerk clearly a complex movement. I mean, it's an Olympic sport, right? But it's also one that from day one, you have a progression. So Fern left us, Katie. Let's be honest. Like we were going to try to play this off. I do have to talk to somebody. So for those, and I think this is a perfect reason that people need to check out our YouTube channel because you get to see this stuff like this, like Fern just getting yanked out of a live podcast There he is. He's back. Anyway, what I was saying, Fern, is the push jerk from day one, you have a progression where like,
Correct.
as you do with the muscle up, to be quite honest, but
well, the push jerk is because there's a lot going on in the push jerk. Let's not fool
I don't think you
ourselves.
were afraid of teaching. It was probably your ability to see and correct it.
Well, they're one and the same. To suggest that they would be separate would suggest that you're not a level 4. But the point is, the point is that that's where you need to figure out where you should unpack your coaching, whether it's a movement that you avoid because you can't do it. So then the assumption is that I can't teach it, or that I can't look at it and assess it and improve somebody or create drills for it, or just something I avoid because, it's not cool or whatever. Dismissing all of the things that would lend itself to being a good, well-rounded coach. Yeah. It's something we bring up in the level 2 a lot too, which is, if you're really trying to get into the point where you consider yourself a strong coach, pick a movement. And then from there, my argument should be you've got 5 minutes or you've got 50 minutes. It shouldn't matter. You should be able to fill it effectively. So, and that's where I think that people need to revisit their coaching skills. If you're just like, hey, you have 50 minutes to teach the air squat and they're done in 2. And I'm like, wrong. You should be able to fill that. Obviously that's not an absolute statement. Depending on how many people you got, that could get a little, out of hand. But the point is, like, revisit it. And if there are things that you avoid because they're not in the programming, then get them into the programming. Don't overlook things that are simple by worrying about things that are complex. Start with the simple things that you probably overlook in your coaching. Teach the rower, teach the bike, teach the ski erg.
That type of stuff, any monostructural, no one does.
Teach running, learn to teach all of those things. What it will do, unbeknownst to most people, is it will improve your eyes. If you can learn to hone your eyes and your ability to see for simple movements, it does improve your odds for seeing and correcting complex movements. And I think that's overlooked way too much. But it goes back to my earlier statement, is that you're uncomfortable with the things that you don't ever coach. And the only way to get good at them is by coaching them. You just have to acknowledge you're not going to be very good at it on the front end. And that's okay.
Yeah,
just the way it is.
To be transparent, like if you're not good at them from a fitness perspective, chances are many of your members aren't as well. So, you might have 1 or 2 per class that can do these high skilled movements, such as a handstand walk or, muscle ups. The bulk of your class isn't able to. So they don't care that you can or can't do them. They just want to develop. And this is, I would say, true amongst everybody. No one really cares whether their coach can or can't. They care whether their coach can help them get there.
That's the running joke in the pull-up breakout. Be like, hey, who here has a pull-up? Everybody raises their hand. I'm like, guess what? Nobody cares.
Yeah, nobody cares.
They don't care. They literally don't care. They care if you can get them a pull-up. So that's what is more important. Do I understand the mechanics of the pull-up? Do I understand where somebody needs to focus on strength versus the technique portion? Can I put those pieces together and give them a roadmap that would get them there while simultaneously developing both? That's what good coaches do. It's not necessarily like you can get up there and you can give the world's best demo. Who cares? It's not that relevant. That's easily solved by grabbing somebody who can do it and have them show it. That's a fairly simple workaround. I don't recommend it if you have the skill. I think you should demonstrate it, but there's a time and a place for that. But if you struggle with those movements, it's because you've never taught them or you don't teach them frequently enough. And that's where you should start. And start by I think Denise brought it up. She was talking about just general warm-up. She said, what would be wrong with doing the Bergner warm-up every day with a PVC pipe in your classes? 4 minutes.
Nothing. You'd get really good at snatching.
Right. That would be a terrible idea, right? But the point is, you would teach it every single day, at which point you would get better at teaching it. You'd get better at seeing it. You'd get better at seeing it quickly. And therefore your efficiency with getting through a complex movement starts to improve. It's just, that's why. It's not that you can't do it. It's that you're not doing it.
So walk me through, just so we give something really tangible.
Mm-hmm.
What'd you do for your bar muscle up teaching and progression?
I had a couple backups. So let's context right here. So the way you brief this matters, and you can design this any way you'd like, by the way. So depending on the workout and what you want to achieve, you might have like a different box of scaling options. Okay. So for this workout specifically, because I didn't want a ton of hangups, or I wanted them to work on the pulling portion. So I didn't brief in the scaling options any sort of like jumping muscle up. Now, that doesn't mean people didn't do it, but I pulled those out and I had a handful of people do it. Those were one-off cases. Anybody else who was still working on the bar muscle up, I had them either do a pull-up or a chest bar pull-up. However, no butterfly was allowed. You could only do a regular kipping pull-up because that mimics the actual regular bar muscle up. Okay. So I ran them through the level 1 progression because it was the second thing we did. We had already been on the jump rope for 8 or 9 minutes at that point. And then we got up onto the pull-up bar. We ran through the level 1 progression. I had them do pull-ups. I had them do chest to bar pull-ups. And then I had them, whoever was going to do that, I had them progress into bar muscle ups, at which point now we have to figure out a couple of things. What's appropriate volume for some of these people? Because it's a total of 36 in the workout, which isn't a small number. And then there was a handful of people that were going to be doing chest to bar pull-ups, and another handful of people that were going to be doing jumping muscle ups. And I had one lady that was injured, Dina, who was going to be doing a single arm ring row because she had a torn labrum. So once I got towards the end, this is when I start to refine and figure out, okay, you are going to be doing this. You're going to be doing this. There's 24 people in the class. You probably had 12 different variations of that workout going on.
What was the most common? Just the reps?
Probably 50-50 between reps and then a pull-up, like some variation of a pull-up.
Well, and I think that's really what it comes down to. Like what we're suggesting is muscle up, handstand walk. It really doesn't matter. Coach it, but obviously the next layer to that is have a plan for your coaching. The hardest thing is going to be assuming there's no one in your class that can do it, the demonstration. That always comes up. And here's the cool thing. You all have access to a million people that can do these movements on YouTube, on Google, right? Hey guys, we're doing bar muscle ups today. You guys, I'm working on mine. Here's what it looks like. Maybe you pull it up on the TV. If not, most people have seen it. And the truth is, if you haven't, you're probably not doing it anyway.
Yeah. So then, and then other days on different workouts, I would really emphasize some variation of a jumping bar muscle up, but not for today. I've done that in many classes. So it's not either or. It's and then we're just going to constantly revisit what the scaling options are going to be based on the workout. So I wanted minimal transition scaling options where they were going to start eating up time. I wanted them in and out. And I only really wanted the limiting factor to be like muscular fatigue, or they were just starting to get smoked. I didn't want them to have to do a bunch of, resetting on the boxes or anything like that. So I had two of my older gentlemen doing a jumping bar muscle up because they had like one or two maybe in the bank on a good day. And then one of them tried to pull one over on me. He was like, oh, I'm gonna do it on this box. And I'm like, yeah, but you can flip it over at 20.
Yes.
He's like, oh, this is hard. And I'm like, congratulations, you've achieved the task. Yeah, that's what we did. And we had a couple people, and then there was some teaching point at the end because we had a handful of people tear their hands. At which point, I
always tear on bar muscle ups.
I gave the class, some coaching at the end. I said, listen, don't do it. It's not worth it. I stopped a couple. They're like, did you tear? And they're like, yep. And I'm like, move on. I'm like, it's not worth it. If you feel that coming on in the middle of a workout, a tear on your hand is an injury.
Agreed.
The end. Not a significant injury, but it is going to impact your training for a week. So don't do it. If you feel it coming on, there's nothing wrong with stopping what you're doing and then proceeding on in some other fashion, whether I change that to a strict pull-up or just a regular pull-up.
Barbell row. I mean, lots of options.
Whatever. But the point is don't injure yourself. It's like, for what? It's done.
And bar muscle ups are one of those movements that you totally feel coming on. It's like the skin's rubbing. I know I've got a couple of reps. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So you know that. And so that's what I told everybody. I'm like, don't do it. Like, and this is what you need to communicate to your athletes as well. Like, do not tear your hands. It's not 2007 anymore. That's not cool. It's dumb.
Don't post it on Facebook, Instagram. Yeah. It's funny too. Imagine a similar scenario where like, hey, we got a 5K today, and I'm like 400 meters, and I'm like, man, my ankle's gonna go. Like I feel it, and your coach is like, keep running. He'd be like, my ankle's going to break, dude. Like, what can I do?
Do it.
People will scale running to rowing because it's like, but it's hot out, and then it's like, they're going to rip their hands on pull-ups and like, keep going. Like,
no, it'll be fine. I'm like, it's definitely not fine. We need to talk about your definition of fine.
So you've nailed it. But anyway, in summary, because we get this often, it's a great episode to pinpoint now where coach, the best way to get better at this is actually time under tension, but be smart about it. Have a plan, write it out.
And practice those things. So if you're going to have a progression for a bar muscle up, or you are working on, you're trying to steal some double under progressions off the internet, practice them. This is a major mistake is you pull out a progression off the internet, you don't practice it, and therefore you have no idea how long it's going to take. You don't know how the transitions are going to work. You don't know, how many people are going to mess this up. When we did the double under portion, I told the whole group beforehand, I said, how many of you have double unders? Like at least 80% of them raise your hand. I said, 100% of you are going to get tripped up in this progression. Like you're going to struggle. And as we get there, we're like on the step 2 of the progression, and like some of the fittest people in the group are just looking like, have you guys seen that video of like Afghan soldiers doing jumping jacks?
Use like Ben's progression that he taught us at WOD Prep?
No, I have like a different one that I use, but that's a good one too. Yeah. But the point is like that. The point is I'm teaching them how to do certain things, and it's not about teaching them how to do double unders. It's teaching them how to jump rope and like control their tempo and their speed that they're better with regardless of what they're doing. So that's the thing. But I would say I didn't get what I consider to be like pretty good teaching double unders until maybe 3 years ago, because I put some time into it. I was like, what I'm doing is not sufficient. Like I need to like really hone in on this and like look at posture and drills and timing and tempo and all that kind of stuff. And then I'm like, okay, feel like I'm pretty strong at this now.
I would say double unders, rowing is another example. Like you mentioned, running, bike, where it's easy to fall back on like, you guys know what you're doing. Hop on the bike, hop on the row, or grab your rope. No, that's the thing. They don't. But as coaches, we trick ourselves, we lie to ourselves. And it's really just what you're suggesting. It's, it's laziness on our part. And if you want to be a coach that, regardless of what the movement is, and regardless of if you have it in your wheelhouse or not, you can coach it. It's really simple. Have a plan, practice that plan, and do it on repeat. And if you're only coaching and practicing and thinking about coaching during that 1 hour, especially if you're a part-time coach, you're going to plateau. You're going to be complacent. You're not going to develop. It goes back to what both Fern and I have said numerous times. When we were trying to get on seminar staff, the amount of times we coached to no one, is probably more hours than most coaches have put in front of classes. That's
probably not inaccurate. Yeah. So I think that's the first is practice, obviously. And then I would even give you a better stretch goal. If you are coaching at a box and you need to like volunteer, take another coach's class, unpaid, get on the floor for a day that has a movement that you are not good at, and get out there and coach. But you need to get on the floor and you need to practice. Have a plan. Figure out if you're going to teach a progression, what's the 1 to 2 things that you want to walk away from, or that you want the athletes to walk away from that, and really get in there and hone that skill, something that you struggle with or something that your athletes struggle with, because it's a little bit harder to achieve, but you have to get in there. You've got to get your hands dirty. There is no other way to get better at that stuff. And it has nothing to do with your capacity to do any of those movements. Thanks for checking out this episode of the Best Hour of Their Day podcast. We appreciate you listening and choosing to have us help you in your passion for coaching and affiliate ownership. You can find more episodes just like this on all podcast platforms. If you're interested in learning more, you can reach out to us on any social media platforms, or you can visit www.besthouroftheirday.com to book a call. If you found this episode helpful for you, please share it so that we can help other coaches and affiliate owners to help build a bigger and stronger CrossFit community. Thanks for listening.